One point go in.
Go in? No, you can't go underneath that. That's a staircase
So it's
going up.
solid.
Yeah, it's a staircase going up. Yes.
So who killed the sacrifice?
Now, all the squares that you see here,
Canaanites.
yeah, all the squares that you see here are just the foundations of buildings that were around this area. Look how far down street level was, like 3,000 years ago. All of this, we're standing upon 3,000 years of history. All right, listen. Originally, this is a Canaanite city. Canaanite city going back nearly 4,000 years. It was captured during the time of Joshua. Joshua was a conqueror. And by the time King Solomon gets here, it's already at its 16th level. Understand? 16th level. When he arrives, he finds a triple gate that's right behind you over here. It's a Canaanite gate. Afterwards, he's going to build his own gate, which is right up here on top. But what he'll do is he'll utilize now both gates in order to get into the city. Okay? There's like 3 chambers as you're walking up into the city, kind of like dark rooms. Now, if you take a look all around you, this is definitely chariot territory. Correct? Now, this particular fortress city was here to protect the northern advances into the kingdom of Israel. That's why this place was very important to them. Later on, we're going to have what's called the divided kingdom. But so far, with Solomon, it's one kingdom. This guards the northern approach into his kingdom. Because up in the north, we got Babylonians, Assyrians, and all these types of dudes. Okay? So, this is definitely chariot territory. The Jews at that time did not have horses. In other words, they weren't a mobile army, which is a problem. Because you get a Jewish army out here in the open, that's it. They're gone. But get in the mountains, they're going up here because we're the mountain fighters. This changed everything. Now, King Solomon builds here 2 palaces to house 450 horses. This now becomes a chariot city. We are mobile. Very important as far as okay? You get the picture so far? Now, we saw that staircase over there. Everything that you see out here, this is the breadbasket of the city. All of the agricultural land and everything that you needed for the city was out there. So the people were agriculturalists, they were farmers, they'd be out there. But let's just say one day you hear the warning, a ringing of a bell from one of the watchtowers. You can see the distance, the Assyrians are on their way. So everyone drops their stuff and they start hoofing it to the fortress, okay? Now, the gates we here were really, really intricate. I mean, it took nearly a half an hour just to close the gates. So now when they're in the process of closing the gates, everybody's rushing into the city. They finally get the gates closed, 3 sets of gates, heavy gates, but there's still some people outside. You think they're going to open up the gates for them? No. So therefore, they had that staircase on the side that would lead them into a small opening into the wall of the city. So your next question is, well, the enemy can follow them. No enemy is going to walk up single file up a staircase. Okay? Because all it's going to take is a couple of guys with spears to hold them back. So that will be the breakthrough point. This would be the breakthrough point. Get the thing? Now, one more thing, which is different from a Jewish city than from a Greek or a Roman city. A Greek or a Roman city, the place of interest is always the forum, which is the center of town, not a Jewish city. Okay, the place of interest is the gatehouse. The city gate is where the elders sat to pass judgment of those coming in. The city gate is where they had the market, and the city gate is where they're going to find out all information about things happening. Okay, what do you call? What's the word for information that comes from different places? Information that comes from different places. It's one word, 4 letters. Come on. News. You know what news is abbreviated for? North, east, west, south. That's information from around the world. It's called news from all 4 directions. North, east, west, south. Okay, you're not going to play trivia for simple. All right? Okay, so what we're going to do now, physically, we're going to go through this Canaanite gatehouse, go on top, and then you'll see Solomon's gatehouse. And then we're going to take a walk a little bit past one of the stables, and then we're going to be on a platform overlooking the whole Jezreel Valley. Although Solomon did not live here, he maintained here a palace, and also he had a governor general who watched the city for him. This was the first breakthrough point of an attacking army coming into the land of Israel. That is why this place was so important. All right? Later on, we're going to have a talk. later on we're going to have what's called the divided kingdom, where we have Israel to the north, Judea to the south, and when you're divided, you're not strong. This city will fall during the time of, not while Hezekiah's in Jerusalem, but one of the Israelite kings. It will fall in 586. After that, it's kind of conquered, retaken, but that's the end of it. 26 levels of civilization. The Romans don't live here, and the Greeks don't live here. The Romans and Greeks are very, very finicky about their cities. They don't like building their cities on someone else's rubble. They like to start from scratch. So now, we think of Christmas, and you happen to have like a lawn, you have something like a cradle type thing, you know, and like baby Jesus inside, you know, the manger. Look, although Jesus and his stepdad were carpenters, you could not depend upon a livelihood of just working with wood. These guys were general contractors. They worked also with stone. Now, if you owned livestock and you need something, a feeding trough for your animals, would you make one out of wood or make one out of stone? Stone. Because one that's made out of wood, you can put hay in it, you can put grass, but you can't put grain, they'll be coming out the sides, and for sure you can't fill it up with water. So you would make one like this. This is a manger. So I want you to think about baby Jesus with, like, say, a bed of soft straw here and maybe a blanket. This is a manger, not something made of wood. It was made of stone, just like this. Okay, a feeding trough, that's what it was. Okay, because Nazareth, there was nothing there. You had maybe 12 families around the Commonwealth. There was a town nearby Nazareth, but went by the name of Sepharis, which was a big metropolis. That is where Jesus opened his eyes to the world, because it was a city that was mixed. You had Greeks, you had Romans, you had Jews, and it was one of the few places that did not revolt against Rome during the Great Revolt. Therefore, they received certain privileges that other places did not. And I'm going to assume, and assume correctly, that most of the work that Jesus did with his stepdad was at that particular town. I mean, because in Nazareth, once you make a chair for everybody, what are you going to do, right? Nothing to do. There was nothing to do. It was like 12 families around the Commonwealth. That was the place where they did most of their work as general contractors. This is a manger. All right. Mount Megiddo. Latinized Armageddon, you're going to get Armageddon. Correct? Okay.
The green mountain right there?
Yeah, that mountain.
Okay.
Now, we're looking due east. Okay? This is what you're looking at. Ready, everybody? Okay. Next of the pond, that hill over there is Nazareth. That perfectly round hill that you see there, Mount Tabor. Now, we associate that with Deborah and Barak, but the Catholic Church has said that that is the Mount of Transfiguration. And I'll tell you why. Physically, it can't be. It's going to be where we are tomorrow, okay? And I'll tell you why. When Christian pilgrimages began, they needed a hub stop. Nazareth was a hub stop for Galilee, but you had different denominations of churches, and they were always like trying to get people to stay at their place. They did not want people to travel too far away because they wanted them to come back again to the same place during the night. So they tried to get together as many Christian sites as possible, okay? And they declared that Mount Tabor is the Transfiguration, but it ain't.
So where Thursday.
Okay? Look, we're going to be at Caesarea Philippi tomorrow. And then immediately after that, they talk about the Transfiguration, right? And right above us is the highest peak in Israel, Mount Hermon. That's where it is. Okay? But during that period of time, as time went on, the Crusaders built a church up there, and that's that. Okay, now, take a look. You see the top of that hill? Okay, that is called the Hill of Moreh. The Hill of Moreh. If you recall that when Gideon was fighting the Midianites, okay, they went on top of the hill and they rolled down the lanterns and rocks and everything to confuse the Midianites. It happened there, on top of that hill. The Midianite army was bivouacked down at the bottom. Also, near that hill is also Endor. Remember, Saul goes to speak to the witch at Endor, which is something that he was always against, but something happened to him. They decided to speak to the witch of Endor. And a few days later, he will be killed on top of Mount Gilboa. By the way, Mount Gilboa is right there. That is Mount Gilboa. Okay, that was the battle where Saul and his sons were killed by the Philistines. And what in the world were the Philistines doing here? They were all the way down in the south along the coast. This is probably the furthest north that the Philistines came to fight against the Israelite army, right up here. At the foot of that hill of Mount Gilboa is a spring that goes by the name of Ein Harod, not Ein Herod, Ein Harod. Let's just call that Gideon Spring. That's where 300 warriors are chosen, right over there. Now, if we look straight through the valley, I don't know if you can just make out the outline of hills or something on the other side. That's already across the Jordan, and that's Jordan. Those are the hills of Gilead, right there. So this is the width of Israel. That's the end of Israel right there. And again, to mention something which I didn't on top of Mount Carmel, there was a general here sometime around 1790 with his army. He looked down into the valley. He saw strategic significance, and he said, if I ever had to fight a battle, this would be the perfect battlefield. Napoleon was here fighting the Turks at Acre. All right? So far, any questions about what you're looking at down there? Now I'm going to ask you, this is a political issue, and I don't know if everybody will agree with it. What would you call in the United States the epitome of evil? Don't say the Democratic Party. What physically is the epitome of evil? What is something that some
abortion or
abortion.
Child sacrifice?
Abortion. Well, you can call it child sacrifice. That's true. Abortion. Listen, the ancient Canaanites sacrificed children. You hear this? For fertility rights.
Children.
What? Yeah. Instead of sacrificing the child, get the child up to adoption. I don't know. But for fertility rights, they would sacrifice children. What if I told you that we found the sacrificial mound that was used by the Canaanites? Okay? Which I call the epitome of evil. Let's kind of shimmy over there, if you don't mind. We're gonna like push. Don't forget, Solomon came here on the 16th level. All of this here was underground. This is only dug up by archaeologists.
How many levels did they say? 26?
26 levels of civilization. The deal is this, and you gotta read. You know what? James Michener is a very weird writer. If you read the source means the water. There is a water source here, okay? And inside the book, the name of the site is called Makor. Makor in Hebrew is source. And what they do is they go down to different levels of civilization, and each time it talks about a family from different periods of time. Okay, so that's the book. Later on,